Pretty nice little backdrop here.
Oh, beautiful.
Thanks for watching Be Better Golf, and I'm Mike Malaska, and we're here with the lower body of Brendan. And so
Hi guys.
This is pretty cool what he's tried to figure out here, and actually segmenting out so you can see what different parts do is really a brilliant thought. And I've tried to get people to do it and video companies to do it forever, because if we can isolate things and actually show you, okay, this is what this part is doing and the role of it, if you can do that, a lot of times if you pick the right one, it makes multiple other things happen.
Now Mike, how can people start to think about the different roles of the lower body without getting a special suit and replacing themselves?
Well, you know, there's a lot of drills and a lot of ways to feel what your lower body's supposed to do, but the industry has gone to the point where power and speed is all about how fast you turn and how much vertical force you create, which some of that can be true, but the overall concept and the way people do that, your lower body is more stability. I mean, I can hit the ball a long ways. I can take the club back and swing down and have my hips go this way and my arms go that way, and I hit it almost as far as I hit it when everything goes through.
Yeah.
So the whole concept of all this twist and rotation thing, in my opinion, is way overdone. Is there a role for the lower body? No question. For most people, initially, it's to create space and support, not necessarily for a lot of speed at first.
So the leading role for the lower body, its number one job is to do what?
Is to create stability.
Okay.
Stable and a resistance for your upper body to work against. Now, when I say resistance, that doesn't mean resist your hips and twist your upper body. It means that is the base that touches the ground, so your feet touch the ground. So this becomes your stability that allows you to create speed and levers with your hands, arms, and shoulders. So it's a base. Now, the next thing is, as it moves, what it can't do is it can't invade the space that you're trying to swing your arms into, which one of the worst things that's ever been taught is restrict your right hip. So set up here.
Okay, so X factor, I believe?
X factor.
Yeah, I'm set up.
Okay, so one of the worst things to do is to restrict, leave your right hip right there and kick your right knee in, and then coil into your right hip. So go ahead and go back, but leave your knee and your hip there. Okay, so when you try to coil back like that, what happens is this hip socket can't move back. If it doesn't move back and your hips turn at all, you've now moved your belt buckle closer to the ball. You're dead. So what really happens, and what most really good tour players, even the ones that don't turn their hips very much, go ahead and set up here.
Okay.
So now, because we can see your lower body, what happens is when they go back, their right hip moves back, their left hip doesn't move out.
So they're not doing.
So they're not doing. They're not restricting this hip, and their hips aren't doing this. What happens is this left hip doesn't move out; it moves laterally, and the right hip moves back. So the right hip moves back. So that creates space.
Does it move down, Mike, or does it?
No, it actually moves up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
It moves back and
up.
up.
Like it's tilted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does this a little bit.
Yep.
But it has to move back, because if it doesn't move and your hips turn, you just move your center closer to the ball, which is what causes a lot of people to come over the top, because they're trying to create space for their arms. It's why Jack said on his backswing, he just tries to get his right hip as far out of the way as he could. Tiger said he wants to get his right hip as deep as he can possibly get it, and then on his follow-through, he wants to get his left hip as deep as he can get it. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get their pelvis, this out of the way and this out of the way. Now, doing that, pushing back and pushing back, is also offsetting the outward force of the club, which ends up creating a lot of speed.
Mike, one of the number one terms people search for on YouTube, because they obsess about this when they see videos of their swing, is how to cure early extension. So on the way down, this whole lower body system is invading the space that the right arm needs to hit a good shot. What's when somebody comes to you with early extension, what do you tell them to start doing with their lower body?
Okay, a lot of early extensions, some of it is lack of flexibility, and then somebody's trying to rotate their hips. So you put those two together, you're in trouble. But the biggest cause of early extension is the fact that their lead hips, if I'm looking at this camera here, they go back, and when they start back, here's what happens to this hip. It moves out, and then they start down, and it comes back to where it started, and then it stops, and then their right hip keeps going. So the left hip is the big culprit. It moves out, comes back to where it started, and then it stops, and their pelvis keeps rotating. So on the video, it looks like you went into early extension.
Yeah.
So here's what's got to happen. As you go back, your right hip moves out of the way, and the left hip doesn't go out. It moves laterally a little bit. And then as you come through the ball, learning how to get the club as it's coming through the ball, for your left leg to push your left hip back. See, that's the key right there, is to get your left hip, your left leg to push your left hip back, not to turn your hips, because if you try to turn your hips, you put pressure in your lower lumbar spine, and I'll promise you're going to push off your right foot and throw your right hip out that way. So it's the left leg, and I start with pitch shots. I have them stand there and hit little pitch shots, where as the club's going through the ball, the left leg pushes their left hip out of the way. And you time the weight of the club with that push away.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And that's what I'm doing with the driver. At full speed with the driver, when it's going through the ball, my left leg is pushing my left hip out of the way as the club goes through the ball. Now, when you look at it on a video, it looks like my hips turn faster than my...
Yeah.
But that's another big thing. What you feel like you're doing and what it looks like on video are very different.
Mike, I love what you say there, because there's two different ways I can get this left hip to move. One way would be almost as if like I'm hanging on monkey bars, and I just use the muscles in my hip girdle and things like that to just do this. Okay.
Right.
So I'm not really, you wouldn't really see almost any difference in the ground there to do this, get that left hip out of the way. Okay, the other way I could do it is by, now I'm going to be pushing the ground, and that's the thing that's opening the hip.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference in your safety when you're doing that, and also that's going to be more repeatable, huh?
Well, for sure. And it's how your body, it's the straight line forces again, it's how your body works. So
my eye holes are not lined up enough for me.
That's okay.
Excuse me, guys. I'm going to try it this way, and you'll see a head, and who the hell knows what you'll see. But
okay, so
I got to be able to breathe.
No, let's do this. Come on up here.
Yeah.
Let's go to another task. Let's forget golf. You're in the gym.
Yeah.
And you've got a pulley.
Yeah.
And the pulley is on an angle the same as a club would be. Okay. And the pulley's here. Now, what you've got to do is you're going to use your hip and your arm to pull the pulley back that way. So pull, 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 pull. There you go. So you feel how you're putting force into that leg? Okay, there. And what's your hip doing? It's moving back. So come back to neutral.
Yeah.
Now pull back. Okay. Now if we had another pulley that was on the same angle over here, and this one came down to neutral, and then this left one then had to go pull the other way. There's what your golf swing does. Pull, pull, push, push, push away, push away. That's what it's doing.
Yeah, love
now,
that.
I do that at in my studio. I have a table cross where I get people doing that so they feel that, and I go, that's weight shift, and that's how your hips work. And they go, well, that doesn't feel like turning. I've never felt that in my golf swing. And I go, well, that's why you're no good, because you've never felt that. But I've never seen anybody sit there on those pulleys and sway their hip or leave this hip here and go out like this. I mean, as soon as they do those pulleys, it just boom, boom, boom. Well, if the pulley's on the right angle, it's basically simulating exactly what you're doing with a golf club.
And also, if I'm on that pulley and I want to move that pulley, and all I'm doing to move that pulley is internally rotating my hips, I'm going to move it about an inch.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have that much force. But if I use kind of, yes, that girdle a little bit, but more of the pressure of the ground, and I could really get that thing off of there.
Well, but so
how does that translate? If people are doing this, how does that translate to the golf ball? How can we make that transfer?
Well, that's exactly how your lower body moves, just what you just did there.
Okay.
Now, your arms don't move like that. What I don't like about that is people start thinking their elbows necessarily work. They don't necessarily work that way. Your arms swing around you, but do the same thing you were just doing, and your lower body push into the ground, which pushes this hip back on the backswing and this hip back on the follow-through.
Yeah.
That's what makes you turn. So when you're doing that workout in the gym, when I ask people, sit here and pull back, I said, do you feel your hips turn? And they go, well, Not really, but they turn. Well, yeah, they turn.
It's happening, but it's not.
Okay, my point exactly.
Right.
Turn is an effect, not a cause.
Yeah.
Now, if you stand here and you try to restrict or you try to force your hips to turn either way, you're engaging your lower lumbar spine into a rotational activity. See, if you straight line force it, push away, your hips turn. They turn in harmony with the momentum of the club, and everything looks good, but you don't feel like you're turning your hips.
Yep.
Game over.
Game over. We're going to leave it at that, guys. If you have more questions, send them. Contact bebettergolf@gmail.com. I'll connect with Mike. We're going to try to get together in California to do some more videos in the winter. So that'll be really exciting to get this information out to you, exactly what you guys want to see. If you go over to malaskagolf.com and sign up for his membership using the BeBetterGolf code, you'll get a special discount, and you'll see a special video that we're making just for that. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, time to take this suit off. I think we're done with this thing.